Good evening, true believers. It's me, Stan Lee, and I'm here from the bliss of oblivion to tell you about a special time 60 years ago today. I got around my apartment, and I was like, hey, I need a new story, a new angle. They got a Superman, they got a Batman, and an Aquaman. I say, hey, you know what would be good here? A Spider-Man. Yeah, the kids would love a Spider-Man. So what I calls my buddy Steve Ditko, and I go, Steve, get on the phone. He goes, what is this, Stan? What is it? I said, oh, you're sitting down, buddy. He said, yeah. I said, I got a story for you. He said, well, what is it? Well, I said, what about a Spider-Man? He said, Spider-Man? You mean a man spider? He said, no, Steve, he's a Spider-Man. He's a Spider-Man, and his name's Peter Parker. He said, wow, that sounds like a great idea. We should get, you know who would love this idea? Kirby. Oh, yeah, Kirby. Let's get Kirby on the phone. We said, Kirby, put down your markers. We got a story for you, Kirby. And he said, oh, swell, guys. And that's how Spider-Man came to be.
What up, internet? Where you are, where you be, who you at, what you see. It is Pop Culture Parent.
Oh, God.
And it's a special night tonight. I am one of your hosts, Mark MF Jones, and I want pictures of Spider-Man on my desk. But before that, I'm always, honored and joined by...
Mark, you're ridiculous. You sounded just like Stan Lee. You sounded just like Stan Lee.
Excelsior.
This is Neil R.Y., a.k.a. Shocker! You can't escape me! You can't escape me! The check's in the mail, baby.
Yes. I'm glad you said it. I'll follow you to the end of the earth.
Oh, that's hilarious. And I am here, finally back. Shannon, aka Norman Osborn's barber. I am back. Mr. 360 Waves himself.
Yes. Back to formula. Fellas, how you doing, man? It's good to see y'all. I feel like we haven't been in the domain for a while.
Yeah, man. It's good to see all of our powers combining back at full strength.
Finally did an episode of something I've seen. I ain't forgot. I listened to the Stranger Things episode. It was well deserved. I was fired.
Subtle flames.
It was well deserved.
We only had to do a episode about the one of the top 3 most famous characters in existence, and Shannon's like, I've seen that. He did the little Leonardo DiCaprio meme from, hey
like that, hey.
Look, if y'all haven't put it together, this year the wall crawler, the webhead, everyone's favorite neighborhood Spider-Man turned 60 years old, and man, it's a milestone. One of the greatest comic book characters that ever lived. I think I read somewhere Spider-Man is maybe the most recognizable fictional character in existence. Besides, I think it was like Superman or Mickey Mouse or Batman. He's up there. He's but
top 3 easily.
Yeah, easily. But there's a lot of Spider-Man to talk about. 60 years, that's a lot of Spider-Man. So we figured we'd narrow it down to the gateway drugs of Spider-Man that, really grabbed a bunch of people from our generation, our era, and made them Spider-Man fans. So we're going to dive into the Spider-Man, the animated series that some of y'all remember from your Saturday mornings growing up that was on Fox Kids. We're going to start there and just see where, the history of Spider-Man takes us. But Nels, why don't you give us a little history?
Yes. True believers, I'm excited to talk with you all about Spider-Man, the animated series. So, of course, Spider-Man, the animated series, was one of the popular, if not the most popular shows that came out of Fox Kids. It first aired on November 19th, 1994, and ended January 31st, 1998. There were 5 seasons, 65 episodes, which was what was originally budgeted and contracted for. So they were not canceled. It actually was the run of the original contract. They just did not renew the contract.
Wow. Really economic with it, huh? They're like 65. That's what we're gonna. That's what you paid us for, and that's what we're gonna give you.
Exactly. Well, so supposedly one of the producers of the show, a company called New World, they ran out of money by the end of the run of the show. And Fox was like, well, we only gonna pay for this much money. So if you want to run the show, you're gonna have to come up with the rest of the money. And New World was doing that. And so once New World went out of business, they just ended the show.
Adding that part, that makes more sense because I was like, being fiscally responsible, that was not really a trademark of the 90s. So I was like, it could have just been, yes, we're being fiscally responsible, sticking to the budget.
Especially Fox, man. They had money they had pretty much the equivalent of Netflix 90s money back in the 90s. Like,
yeah, true story. True story. Something that I'm sure if you were in a game show and they said this thing, like if this was Jeopardy and I said this thing, you probably would have guessed that this correlated to Spider-Man, the animated series. But since the premiere of Spider-Man, the animated series, it became the highest rated and most popular children's television show in the country. Let me repeat that. It was the highest rated and most popular children's television show in the country during that run from 94 to 98. Do you know what shows came out at that time? Like,
they had a lot of competition.
Your favorite show came out at that time. Granted, your favorite show was probably Spider-Man, the animated series. Outside of that, this beat X-Men. This beat Batman in ratings and in reviews. This beat Pokemon. This beat Tiny Toon Adventures. This beat Animaniacs. This beat Pinky and the Brain. This beat Jackie Chan Adventures. Just to shout out Jackie Chan Adventures. Like, this was the top dog. This beat out Power Rangers. Like, this was the number one children's television show in America during its run. So, yeah. Just to give y'all
I didn't know that. So this show got me into Spider-Man. Like, I feel like I've always known who Spider-Man was. Like, I just always knew who he was, but this show made me a Spider-Man fan. And I remember being hyped for the premiere. And I didn't really know a lot about Spider-Man, but me and my boy Adam, man, I spent the night at his house, and the next morning we were ready, and Saturday morning, like, we were just hyped to watch the Spider-Man cartoon. And I'm like, where did I get that excitement from? Because I didn't know anything about Spider-Man. They just, I don't know, man. It's something about this character that just like people want to like gravitate to.
Yeah, no, same. And I'm like, just thinking about this again, the 90s just did an amazing job when I look back at the cartoons they had in that sense. But I'm like, this one especially, because I've said, I didn't really grow up reading the comic books, but I know so much about all, everything with Marvel, DC, all of that. And it's really from the cartoons that they had. And I'm like, just, the characters they introduced, the struggles, just all the different things. And I'm like, yo, shout out to them.
Yeah, same, y'all. Like, I was a comic book head in the 90s, but like, I did not read Spider-Man comic books. But like, please believe, I know I can mess with like some of the top dog Spider-Man heads out here. And it is all because of this show. Like, I could just straight up remember the episode in the show, and I can hold a conversation with some of the folks who know like the most about Spider-Man. And so there is a person who deserves a lot of credit in this, and that is Mr. John Semper. This man was the showrunner, the head writer for the animated series. When they handed him the keys to the ship, he called it a show. Like, he was like, I don't know what to do with this. And he turned it into one of the top children's shows of all time. And yes, he is a black man. Yes, black man. A black man did this. Your favorite show.
You hear that, America?
A black man.
You hear that, America?
That's why he didn't get a renewed contract. But John Semper is a beast, though. He also was the head writer for Static Shock. He helped create the Kid and Play cartoon. That was a funny cartoon. It was on.
They can't all be winners, right? So.
Right. But he did write for DuckTales. He wrote for Rugrats.
Wow.
He wrote for Extreme Ghostbusters and more. Like, he's done even like a slew of preschool shows as well. So John Semper is a beast out here. And again, head writer of your favorite show, and he's a black man.
And he was really protective of this show too. I don't know. So during this time, there was all those other Marvel shows, right? There was the Iron Man show, there's X-Men, the Fantastic Four. I think there was even the Doctor Strange show. Incredible Hulk. So all those characters, I think, except Hulk, make cameos in this show. But Spider-Man does not make any cameos in those shows because just how protective they were of this property. I think there's one, I think it's in X-Men. There's like,
I think it was in X-Men too.
Something. Yeah, something's happening in the city, and you see Spider-Man's like hand web sling and like save somebody, but that's it. There's like you can have this is X-Men, all right? This is X-Men in the 90s, the animated series, and they're like, you can have Spider-Man's hand.
Mind you, the show came out before Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Look, we know what number one was eventually, but like before Spider-Man, it had to either be X-Men or Batman. Like, so you're talking about one of the most successful shows, and they'll be like, nah, you can't really touch Spider-Man. Sorry, dog.
I'm trying to think of like the equivalent of that move today. It'd be like if the Superman cartoon, and they're like, hey, we want to have a Batman cameo. And they're like, okay, well, you can show Batman's foot. And then that's
you can show a batarang.
Yeah. The balls, to quote you, Nels, the balls.
So that's a little bit of the history. But actually, one of the key things in this show was the seasons had themes. For the majority of the pop cult, you're going to really get a kick out of me reminding you what the themes were for the season. So for the first season, there really wasn't a theme. It was just more so an introduction of all the miscellaneous cast and characters and villains in the Spider-Man universe. So it was more so like an introduction. But then season 2 came in called Neogenic Nightmare. And that was when we learned the term, the Neogenic Recombinator.
So this is the Neogenic Recombinator.
Yes. You don't really know what the Recombinator does.
Bruh,
still don't even know if there's a real thing, but Lord, I talk about the Recombinator all the time.
When I went back and I like checked out this show, I was like, yo, the Recombinator, first of all, they should have thrown that thing in the ocean or launched it into the sun, because everyone and their mama, every episode is like, dog, it'd be like, we're bank robbers and we rob diamonds, and the king would be like, he's like, well, I need you to steal the Recombinator, right? It's like, oh, okay, all right, next episode, Kraven the Hunter, or the, it's just like everyone was like trying to get the Recombinator, but like, what did this thing do? It changed genetics. It would open gateways to new dimensions. I'm like, wait a minute, does science work that way? It's the Swiss Army knife of like physics. It's like whatever we needed to. And Dr. Connors is like, he said, well, the time machine button is here, and the genetic modifier button is here. Make sure you put input 3 to travel to new dimensions. It's like, what could that thing not do?
And if you could make that, why could you not get rid of your lizard problem? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, you are clearly Reed Richards level genius. Like, come on, son. What's the problem?
Why are you worried
here?
about that? He's like, I'm not a man. I have one hand, Spider-Man. It's like, yo, you literally made a reality changing machine in your college like classroom.
Yes, he is a professor. At Empire State University. I'm sure that's not a top university in the world of Marvel. Like, come on, yo.
Yes,
it's like in 2020, DeVry University is like, where's our Recombinator, Connors?
I only got one hand. I'm doing the best I can. Yes. So, anyways, the Recombinator. So, season 2 was Neogenic Recombinator. Season 3 was The Sins of the Father. I believe that was the Doctor Strange season with Mordo and yeah.
Does that relate to Smythe?
Was that a Spider Slayer season when we got a whole bunch of Spider Slayers?
I think it was the first season.
That might have been
in which,
season 1.
I love the science of this show. It's like the Kingpin, right? New York mob boss has money to make basically Gundams.
Even more accurately, and Shannon, this is a shout out to it may have been the first episode that you were on Pop Call Parent. The closest thing I can say to what a Spire Slayer is a Metal Gear.
Oh,
Yes.
Like, it is essentially a walking nuclear device that is strictly built to beat Spider-Man.
That the mob boss, the New York City mob boss, he's like, I need Spider-Man dead, so go make me a Metal Gear. But I love it because he's like, okay, you have the technology to do this, but not only that, it has to look like a spider. Like it can't just be a robot that goes and kills Spider-Man. It's like, no, it has to be a spider. You gotta know it was from the Kingpin and it was made for Spider-Man.
That's capitalism. like too much money. Too much money and poor usage.
A paint job and a logo on it and all that.
Yes,
Well,
man.
Mr.
Like, what are we
Mr.
doing?
Fisk, I don't think you could write off a Spider Slayer for your taxes. I don't a Recombinator. Oh boy.
Season 4 was Partners in Danger. That's when you get a whole bunch of folks guest appearing, including Daredevil. And then season 5, the last season, had a lot of story arcs in there, including the 6 Forgotten Warriors, which were like Captain America's crew, return of Hydro Man, and the when you get the reveal that Mary Jane actually was a clone.
Mary Jane's a water woman.
In your 10-year-old mind, you cry as Mary Jane looks at Peter.
As she evaporates.
Yeah.
Before I go, I want you to know just one thing. If any part of me is anything like the real Mary Jane Watson, she loves Peter Parker more than anything in the world. More than anything.
No! Mary Jane! Mary Jane!
The original Mary Jane said, I love you with all my heart. I was like, oh,
Yeah, and then she just turns into like vapor. And he's like, no, Mary Jane, Mary Jane.
dog. I was like, yo, that was tragic. Oh, man.
So
Anyways.
good. So good.
And there was Secret Wars. And then there was the Spider Wars right after the Secret Wars. And then Madam Web. And then the show ended. So those were the 5 seasons of this great show.
I heard that Fox did not want them to have connecting story arcs. They wanted it to just be one-off, kind of like, villain of the day, comic booky type stuff. These arcs connect. Things happen in like season 2 that, are referenced in like maybe season 4. Characters show up, plot points show up. It's really sophisticated, man. When you go back and you watch the show, I'm like, yo, they're doing deep cuts. Like there's deep cut characters in these shows. Like I think Prowler shows up one episode.
Prowler does show up.
Everyone kind of knows him now, but like I didn't know who Craven was when the show first started.
Did you know who anyone was? Did you know who the Punisher was before this show? Did you know Blade before this show?
I did know who the Punisher was. I did not know who Blade was until this show.
I got introduced to Daredevil from this show.
Daredevil makes it in here. Like this show is what could happen if Sony gave the film rights back to Disney.
Part of the reason they were able to go so deep is that these folks were ridiculous. They had more flashbacks in an episode than Family Guy. Like throughout the episode, like they'll be like, and this fight means more to me than you know. And then you cue in a 30-second flashback of this person's entire origin story. Like, everything about this person in 30 seconds in that flashback. And then they go back and Peter's like, wow, I get it now. And then they go off to battle.
Yeah, but I love everyone's flashback. Like they were always like a young college student that was going to change the world. But like, all Spider-Man's villains, they're like, everything is his fault. Like, like everything is like Dr. Octavius, gets the arms connected to him. Spider-Man did this to me. Like, like Electro falls, becomes electricity. He's like, look what Spider-Man did to me. It's like, yo, he wasn't even there, dog. Every Spider-Man villain is like, it's your fault. Look what I am, Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's like, I don't even know you, dog.
Yeah.
Like, I just got here.
Yo, you don't know him. And Spider-Man barely got $40 in the bank account. You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I doing to you? Like, why are you giving me all this pressure?
I don't know what I'm gonna have for dinner tonight. What are you talking about?
After this fight, I'm sleeping on this roof. Like, this is where I'm chilling. You see that tent over there? This is where I live.
The other thing I want to mention, just how you were saying with the flashbacks and everything, even though, it was funny, it was like a beautiful art they had in there, because that's what it was. It was like 30 seconds. Now I know Kraven's story. I don't know, Daredevil, Punisher, and those people, and then villains, like all in 30 seconds. And it just makes me think about, again, the live action movies that we've had. I'm like, bro, if they just do something like that, we would not have had to see Uncle Ben die like 7 times on screen at this point.
Do y'all remember there was an episode where, like, for some reason this Jamaican taxi driver had to like help Spider-Man? And bro, oh man, the 90s are great, because you could tell they're like, all right, let's just find a black woman on the lot and just have her do a Jamaican accent. She's like, oh, Spider-Man, we got to, Spider-Man, we got to help you, oh boy. And it's just like, and that's how bad the accent is. It's like you couldn't find one Jamaican person or someone who has a good Jamaican accent. And it's like, I don't even know why she's in the episode. It's like, but they like follow her, and then she has this like network of cab workers, and they're like, we got to help Spider-Man. I'm like, what is going on?
And like, yo, where are you recording? It's not that hard to find a Jamaican. Like, where are you recording? It can't be that hard. It cannot be that hard.
Spider-Man, me's not a user of big words, but right now, yeah, emasculate me, Spider-Man. Yeah, emasculate me, brethren. Make me dead. Make me drop and bust up me and dead. This not right, Spider-Man.
I know y'all probably seen it's become like a meme now, but the episode where Spider-Man tells Peter wants to quit being Spider-Man, and Robbie's like, hey Peter, tell your buddy Spider-Man that he's got a fan, and it's a little girl, and they go through a whole adventure or whatever, and at the end she's like, will you tell me who you are? He's like, yeah. She's like, you're Peter Parker. I'm like, wait a minute, there's no internet, how do you know this guy's Peter Parker? Right? Like, you're Peter Parker, the guy that takes pictures of Spider-Man. And she's like, I'll never tell anyone your secret. And Spider-Man web slings away, and it looks, and the camera pans down. It's like children's like terminal illness hospital. And she's like, I'll keep your secret for the rest of my life. It's like,
Gotcha. Like,
wow. Okay.
Just a little punch in the jaw real quick. Just a little quick jab in the jaw. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of the characters in the show. I'll name them, fellas. If you feel so convicted to say something about some of these folks, feel free to do so. So, of course, this show introduces us to Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man. They also give us J. Jonah Jameson, Mary Jane Watson, Aunt May, Felicia Hardy / Black Cat. I actually knew nothing about Felicia Hardy. And I actually haven't seen much about Felicia Hardy, like in my comic book curating season of my life. Like, I haven't really seen much about Felicia Hardy. So everything I know about Felicia Hardy's from this show.
Yeah.
No, it's quick point. I heard that because they didn't want to do the Gwen Stacy plot, they actually added some of her traits to Felicia in this show.
Gotcha.
There's some like crossover, I guess, in comic book lore that they gave Gwen stuff to Felicia in this show to kind of like merge them into one character.
That makes sense.
And I was going to say same with Felicia. I've only seen her in this cartoon and the Spider-Man video game, the 2018, from like PS4.
Yeah.
Like the only time. And I was like, I know nothing else about her / Black Cat.
This show was the first show that made me realize that like I cannot like a character, but they could still be a good person. Because they did it with JJ Jameson. Yeah. You don't like him. It's like, man, get off Spider-Man's case, man. Dang. But like he in the show, there's numerous times where like they show that no, he's a good man. He's a good guy, and his best interest is for like his like employees and his friends, his coworkers, and the people of New York. He just hates Spider-Man. He's got a Alex Jones like level of hate for Spider-Man. And as a kid, I was like not conflicted, but I was like, wow, like he's not a bad guy, but I don't like him. But I get why. Well, I don't get why he hates Spider-Man, but you know, and it was like you don't really see that kind of range in kids shows back in the day. And I know that that's part of the writing of the character. I just like never saw that in a kid show growing up.
The beauty of J. Jonah Jameson, Mark Jones, is it taught you about how politics should be in this country. You're like, I completely disagree with what this guy is saying, but this is still a good guy, right? Like even, and you get to like really appreciate J. Jonah when his son's coming down from like the mission.
Space.
J. Jonah's keeping like the straight
son.
face, but he's like, my boy, my baby boy. Like, come home, you can make it home. And you're like, there you
Robbie,
go,
you'll tell me what happens, won't you, Robbie? He's like, I don't know, JJ. Your son, he might be dead, Robbie. You just tell me what happens, okay, Robbie?
So there, Felicia Hardy, like I mentioned. There's Robbie that Mark Jones just mentioned. Both Osborns are in the show. And so then we'll talk about the villains. There was a buku amount of villains. Spider-Man has like, what's it called? His Rogues Gallery.
Rogues Gallery, yeah.
If it's not number one, it's number two of the best Rogues Gallery that any hero has ever had. Like
the discussion is between him and Batman. And like
that is correct.
Where you land, like I could hear both sides of the argument, but it's only those two.
It's only those two. The Flash has maybe a close to the same amount of villains, but like you're not putting Mirror Master up to Doc Ock. I'm sorry. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you're not putting Heat Wave near the Shocker. Like, you know, like it's
Gorilla Grog, you know, like
you know what I'm saying?
It's
Even
not happening.
I might put Gorilla Grog with Rhino. Like that might equate, but outside of that, like, you know, we ain't even talking about either goblins. Like it's just it don't hold a candle.
What I appreciate too about them is, again, I mean, it's such a wide range. Like, yes, literally the number of them, but in terms of how they are too. Like, you got some people that are the Sandman or whatever. Like so you're actually like a person who turns into sand and stuff. Like, you know, something super powered like that. And then you got somebody like Kraven the Hunter, who's really just a regular guy, but can just hunt very well and is super athletic. And then you've got other people who are just super technologically, you know, sound or whatever, that are, you know, from Shocker and, you know, all of these types of things. So it's just like you got humans that are just basically super smart or athletic, and then people that are basically monsters, or dare we say the M word, mutants, or, you know, something like that.
So let me run through the list of characters or list of villains so we all remember. There is, of course, the Kingpin, who played more so like the major villain for this, for the Spider-Man, the animated series. And then there was Smeed. What was it? Is it Smeed? Is it Smythe?
I think it's Smythe.
I think it's Smythe. Like, yeah. Shocker, Lizard, Doc Ock, Hobgoblin, and Green Goblin. And I haven't seen the Hobgoblin. I don't think I've seen the Hobgoblin since. I think I may have read one comic book about him, but besides that, since there was Venom, Rhino, Scorpion, Carnage, Hydro Man, Mysterio, Kraven, Morbius.
Mysterio,
We already talked about all the Spider Slayers, and those are the ones off the top of the dome. There were even more from them. So, like, yeah, there was a lot of villains.
You know what the great thing about Spider-Man villains are, and I just thought about this. So usually in comic books, and Nels, you can, you know, attest to this. Usually in comic books, your villain is like the reverse version of your hero, or your hero with a different color scheme. But like all the Spider-Man villains, they're really good contrast to him. like whatever their power is or like their gimmick, it always like is like an interesting foil to like what Spider-Man does and who he is. You know what I'm saying? So like with Mysterio, like his spider sense and like how Mysterio can like sometimes trick that or not trick that. With Doc Ock, it's like another I don't think spiders, what's the word? It's octopuses aren't arachnids, but it's like another like 8-legged thing. You know what I mean? And it's just like really cool how they like contrast with each other. And I don't know too many other villains that really do that. I mean, I guess maybe Batman.
It's Batman, yes. But I think the crazy thing about Spider-Man's villains and how they correlate, besides like just their powers and skill sets being like just a disadvantage for Spider-Man, the power of the villains is that they all have a compelling story that like gets to the compassion of Peter Parker, right? Like, you know, they always say like, why doesn't Batman kill his villains? And it's because if you kill one, then there's no less murderers. There's just another murderer.
Stop.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Batman's pretty much just like, I'm gonna kill them all if I start killing. Like that is Batman's rationale.
I'm helping y'all out. All right. If I start killing,
y'all really want me to go there?
It's like Pringles. Like once you pop, you can't stop. Like, it's Batman's code. I can't become Pringles.
So that's not the case for Spider-Man. Spider-Man knows these guys, knows their story. He doesn't want to kill them. Like at the end of the day, he's like, man, I'm like 2 decisions or 2 life situations away from being them. Like if I went left instead of going right, I would have been in that person's shoes. When he got his powers, he wasn't out here saving people. He was trying to make money. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he very much so like it's not like, yes, the power skill sets, but the other part is like, but like, yo, I see them as humans. Like I see why they're where they are and doing what they're doing. Like I can understand it for a bit. And that's why he doesn't kill him, because he sees him as human. So,
and I think it also is because Spider-Man is a very street level superhero. He gets into like these big things, but he's the neighborhood Spider-Man. He's stopping the guy from stealing someone's bike, or he's helping the cat out of the tree. And he has time to save all of New York, but he also makes time with all these little relationships on the street. And that's where he meets these people. That's where he meets like a Flip Marco or something like that, who's just like a little robbing a bank. And he's like, exactly, Nels, like you said, he'll meet someone like Flip Marco. It's like, Marco, again, I have to like capture you again. Stop robbing banks, you know?
Yeah, he'll like turn around and like get like a sandwich for Marco's daughter. Cause he like knows, he's like, well, your dad's gonna be in jail for an hour or so. So he told me to stop by and give you dinner. Like that's the type of relationship he has with the villains.
What you described right then, I feel like to me, that is how policing should be. Like as we take it to like a larger societal level, but like, you know, also real, it's like street level, you know the people. Like your first thing is, hey, I don't want you to do this thing. And then it's like, okay, you did break the law. Okay, I guess I do gotta take you to jail. But I'm gonna still do this thing to like help out your family, because I realize with you being gone, there's this lack of income. So I'm gonna help feed your daughter. You know, it's just like, that is what like policing should be. But, you know, but once again, that's Spider-Man's world. In our world, it doesn't quite work out like that. So,
well, Shannon, you like,
story.
This is why Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, because I've said it before on this podcast. He does the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And just because you do the right thing doesn't mean you're going to win. A lot of times you will lose and you will not get no shine, no clout, no cream. You'll lose your girl. You might even get fired, but you got to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And I'm going to say it, man, it's going to sound corny. This world would be a better place if people would be more like Peter Parker, if people would take responsibility and not just, you know, like Peter was at that first night where he didn't stop the robber. That first, that's like, come on, man. I'm just some kid, and you like stop that guy. I'm a grown man. I'm not stopping no guy robbing anybody like that. But like the point of it still stands. It's like, you know, we think it's not our problem till it is our problem. And the whole Uncle Ben thing just works so great. He's like, but you know what? He did have the power. He is a Spider-Man. He could have stopped that guy, and he didn't. And then your actions have consequences, and Uncle Ben was killed because you took the route of pride and took the selfish route. And it's like, and he's, you know, a lot of people say Spider-Man is only Spider-Man because of the guilt, but it's like, no, it's like he saw what happens when what is it? Evil only succeeds when good men do nothing. Mm-hmm. Like he saw what happened when that, you know, he saw that in real life.
So there's one other thing, just to round out the history of the show. There's one other main character or theme that comes with the show. Part of the reason this show is the way it is because the team had to deal with censorship and the intense rules that they put on the show. For example, I'm sure you all know, this is pretty notorious, that Spider-Man wasn't really allowed to punch. I think he only punched like maybe 4 or 5 times in the entire run. He did a lot of kicking and a lot of wrestling moves, but like he wasn't really punching folks out there like that. There weren't a lot of guns. There were a lot of lasers, but there weren't a lot of guns. And I think the other one is like people wouldn't like say the word murder or death. It was like, I'll end you, or I'll destroy you. But like they wouldn't like hint on like the actual act of killing.
A lot of destroy, annihilate.
Yeah.
You know, like
we got all the synonyms. That's why our vocabulary is so amazing. We got all the other ways to describe stuff. Part of like the character of the show, part of what makes it like a unique and why you can like speak towards it in the time that it is because of the unique things that they did to have to adjust to the censorship. And I also think that really made us think a lot as a kid because they never said Uncle Ben died. But we all knew that Uncle Ben died. Like there was a lot of stuff that they didn't directly say, but like we were able to like understand and process and realize that was the case that was happening in the show.
I'll argue that like that might make it better. When you put constraints on people, that's where creativity shines. And so when you have to find creative ways to tell a dark story, I mean, you think about some of the stuff we watch. I mean, hey, let's go back to the GOAT. There's no blood in The Dark Knight. And some of the most like vicious moments where like Joker slams the guy's head on the pencil, and then when he has the knife in the guy's mouth, when he's telling him how he got his scars, it cuts to the other guy like wincing, and it just has like that kind of like string cut, like you know, and it just cuts him. So like they don't show a lot of gore in that movie, and it just shows, like you don't need violence to make things dark. And that's my biggest problem with the DCEU movies. They think that like violence and just being hardcore edgelord
and literal darkness, like just
and literal no color, just really blue dark. And blacks, just blue and blacks. You know, and I've said it before. I think people confuse darkness with maturity, and like you can tell a mature story without showing any blood, without showing any violence, and sometimes letting your imagination do the work for you is like more traumatizing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nels, the famous Shocker scene where Spider-Man's chasing Shocker, and he's like, "Oh, okay, take me to jail." He's like, "You know, I'm tired of taking people to jail," and he picks up that big heavy
wall
door.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Yo, he's gonna kill him." And
did your young head do the math? Like,
bro,
I don't think he can survive that.
Immediately, like, because Spider-Man he's dragging the heavy thing over with his webs. He's like, "Nah, I'm tired of playing the good guy," and I'm like, he's gonna kill him. Like
it didn't click to me. I was just like, because he was just fighting the Rhino. I was like, nah, like I don't think Shocker. I don't know, Peter. I don't think Shocker can survive that. You might need to chill out there, Peter. Yeah,
and if people don't know, it's become a meme. It's the episodes, the collection of episodes where Peter gets the symbiote and he becomes like, the Black Spider-Man, and he gets more aggressive. And where it comes to like the climax and he realizes he needs to get rid of the symbiote, he's chasing Shocker up a bell tower, and do yourself a favor and go watch his clip, but he's like yelling,
"Get back here, Shocker! Shocker! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!"
The Shocker person is like a 30-cent Shocker. Like he is screaming with all his might. I can only imagine how that brother, I think it was like Chris, mind you, he was the older brother in the Brady Bunch movie. I can only imagine how that dude in the studio, someone must have said the right thing at the right time to get that emotional reaction out of him. It was impressive. To the end of the earth. No, but when he was like, the checks in the mail, baby, like he had him like over the, I was like, yo, he lost it. I don't know what this black suit's about, but this is not Peter Parker. Oh,
yo, can I say that was one of my favorite things, like when he got the symbiote and everything. Because I'm like, the one downside was that, like, the extra aggression where he's like, okay, I'm like legit trying to kill people now. But I always sort of liked that one better. Like, not the extra aggression, but that he was stronger, he was faster. Like,
it's objectively better.
He was so much better.
If you objectively a better suit.
If you could just get your temper under control, like you would be like the perfect Spider-Man.
Hey, if it was 2022, Spider-Man could get sign up for BetterHelp, and he could be just a well-rounded superhero. He'd go do his thing, and then when you get a little aggressive, go to BetterHelp.com. You find yourself a nice therapist, talk this through, talk about it. Go to Dr. Connors, tell him about the symbiote. He could have worked it out.
Like, hey, brother, I need some help. Yes.
One of my favorite villains, two favorite villains, though, but Kraven and Michael Morbius.
Yes.
Michael Morbius, dog.
I could have named the two.
There is only one Michael Morbius, and is the Morbius from this show.
Yes, man.
I had thought you would be my main competition, Parker, but you will be lucky to make it to the starting line.
Don't forget, Michael, the tortoise beat the hare.
In my country, we eat tortoises.
Peter!
Hi, Felicia.
Felicia, what a splendid name. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Michael Morbius.
Charmed. Please excuse us. What B movie did he come from?
Comes on the scene, right? Even before he's a vampire, he's spitting game to Felicia, trying to steal Peter Parker's girl. Like, no, before he's even a vampire, he's like, oh, yes, I'm, exchange student. Oh, Felicia, a real man would take you, like, leather coat, got the duster on. Like, my man's already spitting game. And he's like, and it's not like he's like, oh, I have money. He's like, I'm a scientist. He's like, excuse me, I'm a scientist.
I'm sure the accent was like part of the game, because like the way he say Felicia, he was like Felicia,
Felicia. But yeah, man, Michael Morbius in this show. Oh, like, what a great run! What a great villain! I need more plasma.
Now I know what this hunger is. Like the vampire bat whose genes I have inherited. I hunger for plasma. I took it through my hands. I could feel it coursing through his skin right into my fingers.
Plasma, Felicia.
Plasma. I need to feed. And she's like, no. He's like, no, I can't. He's got those holes in his hands.
And I'm like, yo, you're telling me that was less scary Them vampire fangs.
Yes.
Those suckers on his hand.
Yeah.
That would leave marks on people's faces.
Bruh, if vampires are a real thing, I would gladly be like, yo, bite my neck before I let you put your hand holes all over my face and suck the plasma out of my body.
Yeah. It's like now they got you afraid to even shake somebody's hand. Like you got to check first. It's like, okay, just want to make sure you didn't have, plasma suckers. All right.
Yeah, you grab somebody's hand. Oh, now hold on now. I just shook your hand, brother. What's up, man?
But then with Morbius, they introduced Blade, and Blade's kind of an anti-hero / villain. And bro, man, this show, they bring Blade in, and then not only do they bring Blade in, they bring the Punisher in. Wasn't it like the Punisher was trying to capture Morbius, and then Blade gets in the mix? And this show just did it all. They really did it all.
Yeah, and like going back to your other favorite character, they made Kraven compelling. Like, first of all, the Kraven premiere, that man was hunting. Like, if you've ever seen like some hunting dramatic shows, you would see Kraven, and then there was like, this episodes would be really fast, but it would be like 3 seconds long, and the still would just be Kraven sitting in the jungle, complete darkness, and just light around his eyes as he was looking at his prey. Like they did it like 4 or 5 times. It was just a still of Kraven, completely still, light around his eyes. I was like, man, they are really selling. Like, I believe this brother is a hunter.
No, the villains were the best part of the show. They really were. Mysterio, he's like, I'm an actor, and I thought he was really cool as a kid. I was like, yo, he's a special effects artist. He's a VS, a special effects artist, and he just sets all this cool stuff up and tricks Spider-Man with it. I don't know why I thought that was so cool.
I used to think Doc Ock was like the coolest villain of all time. Well, maybe not coolest, but like I thought he was cool. He wasn't cool. He was like a nerd and like just like had metal arms. Like it was just like Spider-Man could not beast him. He was smarter than Spider-Man. He had like tactical advantage over Spider-Man. He was nerdy. He had more to lose, but like it was just like everything about him. I was like, man, you can't beat this dude. And I thought he was great.
Funny because even in this show, you could tell Peter respected Doc Octavius because he was and he saw he was fighting Dr. Octavius, not the Doc Ock. And he was always trying to bring him back. He's like, you're a scientist. Like this show just loves science. Like they're like, stop what you're doing. You're a scientist. And then they're like, you're right. I am a scientist, Peter. What have I done?
Now, I always wanted like a little more carnage. Like when it came to carnage. Yeah. But no, truly, because I'm like, Carnage was, once again, it was like, it was Venom, but just on like a whole other level. And there was just no reasoning with Carnage. And I feel like it was there some in the show, but it was just always like, I know there's more there. And I know this can get really ugly, but it never, I just never really saw it. Like, I mean, even now I haven't seen the Carnage movie I guess it was Venom. It was Venom 2, right?
Oh,
Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. There's a reason you haven't seen it yet, Shannon.
Yeah, I still
I haven't seen any of the Venom movies. For me, I'm like, I have no interest in seeing a movie about Venom that has nothing to do with Spider-Man. I just don't, right? But I've seen the end of credit scene to the first Venom movie. And man, let me tell you. So, spoiler alert. They go to, what is it, Cletus Cassidy? Is that his name, Nels?
Yep.
And they're like, oh, Cassidy, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. He's in a jail cell. And he's like, well, next time, and looks at the camera, it's going to be Carnage. And I'm like, did you really just say the title? Like, could you imagine any other movie doing that? Like at the end of the movie, it's like, Harry Potter, and the next time he'll be the Deathly Hallows. It's like or Darth Vader, like, and next time you see me, Luke, it will be the Empire Striking Back. Like,
Yes.
I don't know. I'm just like, yo, that's so lame, dog.
Doctor Strange literally did it. We're in the end game now.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
But like,
we have seen this many times.
I just love the logic. Like they should just start doing that with all movies at the end. Just set up the next movie. Like, what are you going, McClane? Well, next time I'll see you. I guess it'll be Die Hard with a Vengeance. You know, just do it for every movie now. Like, Jack, you stopped the bus. You stopped the Mad Bomber, and you stopped that bus. What are you gonna do next time? Well, next time, Chief, maybe it'll be Speed 2 Cruise Control. What?
Yo, how many of these can you do, Mark?
Bro, do with every movie. Pick a movie.
Let's do Terminator. Oh my God, you saved the day.
And next time, it might be Rise of the Machines. And what will be the next time? Well, next time it might be Salvation. Like, you just do it with any movie. Like,
we have to prevent Judgment Day.
Like Fast and the Furious. Like, Dom, we did it. It's like, next time we'll go Too Fast and Too Furious. Family. You gotta.
Hey, Smokey, I'll see you next Friday.
And then the Friday after next.
Yes.
Oh my God. Do y'all like, what were some of your favorite moments? We definitely talked about one of mine. It was, of course, the alien and chasing Shocker. Like that left an impact on me and getting to meet Daredevil and some of the other heroes. But what about y'all? What were some of the moments of the show that really stuck out to you?
I'm agree with Shannon. I really love the symbiote arc. I think that might be my favorite moment in this show. It's just from Peter getting the symbiote, and he's like, and it could change not into different like outfits.
Yep.
You know, I'm like, yo, what a great, objectively a better costume. Just like,
Yes.
You gotta just handle that anger, dog. Objectively better. But like, changing outfits, and then, you know, standing up to Flash Thompson. You know, I don't know. I just love that whole, and then Venom, Eddie Brock. Shout out to Hank Azaria, who's Eddie Brock. You know, if you guys don't know, he plays, I don't know, pick 10 different random people on The Simpsons, and he's probably 8 of them. You know, but he was Eddie Brock, and just that whole, and when Venom shows up, it's probably my favorite. Besides the end with the Secret Wars and the Spider-Men army, that's probably my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, and I gotta agree, because I was just about to go into it too. The symbiote. Yeah, again, if he could just control his anger, use the Calm app, whatever it is, he'd be set. But yeah, I enjoy the Venom symbiote.
Yeah. Get some CBD gummies or something, man. Like, you live in New York, Peter. Like, you have options,
legally and illegally.
So there's been many interpretations of Spider-Man, you know, after this show. Have y'all seen the show Spectacular Spider-Man?
Yes, Mark, and I already know where you're going with this, brother.
Okay.
I already know where you're gonna go. Shannon, have you seen it?
Nah, I haven't seen much of that one. Nah.
It was a Spider-Man animated show that came on, I think, like what, late 2000s, before the early 2010s. Okay,
like around 2008.
Shannon, I've talked to Nils about this. I think it might be the best Spider-Man thing ever created.
Wow. So you rank it above this one?
I would. And no diss to the show. The show was great. It was ahead of its time. But the Spectacular Spider-Man is amazing. It's an amazing show. One, it doesn't have the constraints and censorship of this show. So Spider-Man's like fighting, and like the choreography on that show is great. The characters are written good. And what makes the show so good is not only do they make Spider-Man's life interesting, but they make Peter Parker's life interesting. and all his like dynamics as a teenager. And it's like Dawson's Creek when he's Peter Parker, and then and then you get the Spider-Man stuff. But it's interesting, and it all plays into what he does as Spider-Man. And no diss to the show, but like Spider-Man's like a 35-year-old man in this show. At least he comes off like that. He's supposed to be a college student, but
he kind of looked 35 with that haircut.
He looked 35. What was it? Bad Boys 2? Damn, nigga, you at least 30. Like,
yep.
That's what everyone's saying to Peter Parker, like high school.
Shannon, Shannon and Pop Cult, y'all hear this. So this show came out, and as you all know, I live and breathe Spider-Man, the animated series on Fox. So I wasn't really like going in like, yeah, whatever. Mark Jones calls me, and Mark is like, this is the best Spider-Man show I've ever seen. And I was like, no. And then I watched the first episode. And then I watched the second episode. And then I watched the entire season. Shannon, it's the best Spider-Man show there is.
As y'all say that, of course, y'all are not the only ones that think that. I was just looking at this article just now as you were talking, and I think it ranks like the 10 best iterations of like Spider-Man cartoons, like all the way back to like the one in the 60s and stuff. Yeah, the Spider-Man series in the 90s is number 2, and Spectacular Spider-Man is number 1 in terms of rank.
When you watch this show, it's like the people who made this show were like, we're gonna show you guys why Spider-Man is the most popular character in the world. The villain stories are great. Like, you thought the villain stories were great in this show. In Spectacular Spider-Man, they're even better. They're more rich. Keith David voices the main villain in the first season. Tombstone takes the place of like Kingpin. You already get like 20 points for that.
That's a home run already.
The show just has so many cool little things it does, cool little like character moments and Easter eggs. Shannon, there's one episode where it's a Halloween episode, right? And Peter dresses up as Spider-Man for Halloween, right? No big deal. Hey, that's smart. Why not? He already has the costume, be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so the camera is like panning down, through the Halloween party or whatever. And you see Black Cat walking through the party, and she has like a satchel of bag of money. And like, you don't see, but they don't point her out. She's just like kind of like in the foreground, and then she doesn't become a character till like 8 episodes later. Wow. And so the show does all these little cool things like that, where like,
and them, so you're like, oh
yeah, yeah.
But they don't do nothing about it. They just leave you oblivious, like, oh yeah, you did see that.
They do so many cool things like that, and the fight choreography of the show, they really nailed like the acrobatics and like the physical dynamics of being Spider-Man in the animated form. It's on Netflix now. I highly recommend it. If you like Spider-Man, like, highly recommend you watch Spectacular Spider-Man. What is your favorite maybe interpretation or media outside of this show related to Spider-Man?
Probably Spider-Man right now in the MC. Okay. I'll say somewhere between Spider-Man right now in the MCU and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Like somewhere between those two. It's probably like my favorite two like mediums, interpretations, and things that I've seen of Spider-Man.
I might need to give it to Tom Holland. Those 3 movies were fantastic. Like I love them. And even when he was in Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, like, his performances, everything that I have felt about Spider-Man my entire life, I felt all of those feelings during those 3 movies. Like, he made me feel all of those things. And then the reveal at the end of it being an origin story, I was like, man, this young kid made me feel just like how I felt watching Fox Kids on Saturday. Like, he captured that moment for me. So, like, I think I got to give it to Tom Holland.
I'll agree. Like, Tom really did a great job of capturing how I think what gets lost in a lot of translation is Spider-Man's a kid. I think when he becomes Spider-Man, he's like 15, 14 years old. And that's a kid. And so I think Tom really nailed that, like a kid being thrust with this responsibility and this weight. I'm gonna go say, like, we all owe Garfield an apology, because looking back on No Way Home, those Amazing Spider-Man movies, he's not the problem. He's not the issue in any of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
And dare I say, he might be, I'm not saying he's mine, but for a lot of people, he might be the best interpretation of Spider-Man out there. I think he has really good energy. I don't know how I buy him as a Peter Parker, but as a Spider-Man, I really dug it. And it's funny because I think Tobey is a great Peter Parker. I don't know, his Spider-Man, I love those movies, but Spider-Man is like quippy, he's joking, and I don't think he really nailed that in those movies. Andrew nailed the quippiness of Spider-Man, but his Peter Parker is like, what are you, a skater kid? I don't know,
that's not Peter Parker.
But Tom kind of got like a good little, like, a B student level of all of that,
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, maybe a B+ with Spider-Man, because the man could literally flip and do parkour like Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another thing I want to ask you guys is, why do you think Spider-Man is so popular?
This has to go all the way to the origin. So I wonder if people who have seen at least this iteration, the origin, where they have that sort of understanding that like this could be anybody, to an extent. I mean, obviously you got to be the person who makes the right choices and stuff like that. Like essentially a good person at heart. But like he was randomly bit by a spider. Like had he been 30 seconds late, it would have been the person in front of him that got bit by the spider, or so I wonder if some of that is it, because he's not like a special person with superpowers or something like that, like from birth, from another planet or whatever. It's just like I was just a pretty good kid and got bit on a school trip, and now I got these powers and I'm making these choices and figuring it out. Like I wonder if that's it, and the fact that he always had what you were mentioning. He always has that piece of, I want to do the right thing. I want to, even in taking you to jail or doing this lockup thing, I still care about you to an extent, So I wonder if that's one of the things.
Yeah, I feel you. I think mine is, while he has superpowers, he's human enough that you're rooting for him. Like you're always rooting for Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Just because you're like, man, like I just, he might be the strongest person in the room right now, but like his aunt is in the hospital right now. Or like he may be the fastest person in this situation, but like Mary Jane hates his guts. Like it's just like you're like always rooting for him. He could completely be the most dominant person in the situation, but he's so emotionally messed up from whatever he's going through that like he's at a disadvantage. And so you're always finding yourself rooting for Spider-Man. And I think that might be like part of the reason at least, that folks are drawn to him, because like usually the superheroes, they're like, I mean, especially in the DC universe, like superheroes are like super, like leaps and bounds bigger, better, and stronger than anyone they're facing against. Like the Flash is always going to be the fastest person. You know what I'm saying? Like Superman is always going to be Superman, So it's like, if you have that level of superpowers, you're not also like just rooting for them.
Your life better not be horrible.
You know what I'm
saying? You better have a great life with good credit.
They make story arcs. They make alternate universes if Superman is not perfect. Like if Superman has like a questionable day, that is like an entire series of DC comic books. Like, oh, Superman was pissed about this. 70 people die. Batman tries to kill him for 10 years. Like, that's the type of stuff that happens.
I'm sorry, Clark. We had to tow your car. And it's like alternate universe Brainiac attacks, Like, but no, I think y'all both nailed it, man. The greatness was thrust upon him. He wasn't born with special blood, or he's not a whatever. His DNA is not this, blah, blah, blah. He was just there at the right place at the right time, or the wrong place at the wrong time. And, he had a gift, and he made a choice to, this is what he was going to do with it. And then, Nels, I think that aspect of, like you said, we all like, we just want this brother to have one win. Give him a win, and it's like, he saved the day, but then he got fired. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He saved that bus full of orphans, but he got kicked out of his apartment. And it's like, his life could be better if he stopped being Spider-Man. But then the world would be that much worse if he stopped being Spider-Man. So it's like, I think that dichotomy of like choices and responsibility, you know, because I think people struggle with that in their everyday life, and people are like, oh, I want to do something, but what could I do? Or it's not my problem. I think we all struggle with that. And it's refreshing to see a character deal with that. And then, you know, here's the thing. Sometimes your boy gets a win. You know, sometimes Spider-Man, he's walking home, he's bruised, and Mary Jane's like, hey there, Tiger, gives him a kiss. He's like, there you go, Peter. There you go, buddy. You know, so sometimes he gets a win. and that's where, you know, that's life, man. You take your lickings, and then you smell the roses whenever you can. And I think that's just real relatable to a lot of people.
Have we already introduced our kids? I feel like the answer is pretty much yeah. But it's like, have our kids been introduced to Spider-Man? Yes or no? And then, you know, of course, if they have, how have they taken Spider-Man? Are they huge fans? Are they, you know?
I'll go ahead and start with this one. So Ian has seen Into the Spider-Verse probably more times than any other close to 5-year-old on the planet. That used to be the show that would calm him down. Like when he was 2, like he would just, you know, that would be the thing that would relax Ian. So he has seen it, like his coping movie, you know, we're like, you know, typically it's a Disney movie. It was Spider-Man for Ian. Ian's current favorite show is Spidey and His Amazing Friends on Disney Plus. Ian is currently, not to like date what time we're recording this, but like Ian is currently in the Spider-Man pajamas right now as we speak. He has a poster of Spider-Man in his room. Spider-Man is no ifs, ands, or buts Ian's favorite superhero. So to answer your question, yes, I have introduced Spider-Man to Ian, whether I like it or not. Spider-Man is Ian's favorite superhero. Jaden knows how to say Spider-Man. Jaden's like 2, and he says Spider-Man. He also knows how to say Black Panther, but like the fact that he knows how to say Spider-Man, like the character is big in the house over here.
My kids, they know who Spider-Man is. They have both seen and sat through all of Into the Spider-Verse. Now, they haven't asked for it since I've shown it to them, but they sat down and watched that whole movie from start to finish. And I that list is very short of movies they've done that for. When it's on, they enjoy the Spider-Man show on Disney Junior or whatever, you know, for little kids. It's the show about it's like Peter, Miles, and Gwen.
Yeah.
And they all, my oldest always sings this, she's like, Spidey and His Amazing Friends, you know, like. So when it's on, they'll watch it, but they don't ask for it. But, you know, sometimes my daughter will be like, I'm Spider-Man. And then she'll like jump and like run out of the room. I'm like, oh, I guess you are Spider-Man. Like,
I love it, Mark. Because you're like, oh, I'm an expert in Spider-Man. You are Spider-Man in this.
You are Spider-Man. But right now in the house, it's Bluey, Peppa Pig, Bubble Guppies. You know, they reign supreme.
And then for me, Luke has been introduced to it. Again, yeah, he's a fan. I remember when he first started watching it, probably like a couple months ago, he started doing the whole Spider-Man, you know, obviously no one can see me, but you know how it looks when Spider-Man shoots his webs from his hands. Luke started doing that. Yeah, he was like doing it all around. And he was like, I'm wrapping you in my web. And I was like, I love it. That's what's up, Spider-Man. But I did want to say something we ended up having to do was he would say like Disney Plus, I want to watch Spider-Man. Cool. So just like not really thinking about it, I was like, Spider-Man, it's all good. So I think somehow he had clicked on it, and he was watching episodes of maybe like the 1981 version, so the older one, and that one was not as censored. Like I mean, there wasn't blood and stuff, but it was definitely a lot more punching, kicking, like hitting and stuff going on. And we noticed like he was getting more and more aggressive and stuff, like the way he would play and kick. So we were like, you know what? We're going to make sure that that the Spider-Man you watch is the Spidey and His Amazing Friends. And so he watches that one. And then, things have calmed down and he still enjoys Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's not using politically correct language. He's like, well, I have to save that bust of Orientals. Like,
that would be wild.
Luke's like, I know that's not right. I know I'm young.
Yeah.
I know that's not right.
Hey, Shannon, is that the one where it's like Spider-Man and he like lives in a house with Iceman and some random superhero lady?
Isn't somebody like have fire powers or something?
Yeah, it's like the girl has fire powers and then Iceman, and they just like have an apartment together. It's like Friends, but they're
I think I know the one you're talking about. I think that one was sometime in that round too, but I think it might have been called Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
His Amazing Friends, like that was. I think that was the first one.
Like I said, we had to chill out from him watching that one. We're like, like first of all, it's like a old cartoon anyway. It's like, why don't you watch this newer one that's also less violent and focused on meant for kids like your age?
Smart choice.
Yeah.
Smart choice.
Spider-Man, he's here to stay, and I can't wait till Into the Spider-Verse 2 comes out. Really excited about that.
And they already announced Into the Spider-Verse 3. That'll come out, I think, a year or so after that.
And then I'm interested to see what happens with after Sony's many debacles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what happens with Sony and the MCU and Spider-Man, like just what they end up doing with all that.
Just so you know, Mark, there's a few potential debacles that are still coming up. There's a Craven movie that's coming out. There is a Madam Web movie that is currently being in production as we speak. So, Sony's still after it, brother. We'll see. We shall see.
Shout out to Esco. When Morbius came out, Esco knows I'm a Spider-Man fan. He was like, are you going to go see it? And I said, dog, I have zero desire to see that movie. And who was chomping at the bit for a Michael Morbius movie? Mm-hmm. Who was out there in the world? I'm willing to, I'm willing to say that no one was like, man, I wish they'd make a movie about Morbius.
Now, if they cast somebody with the accent, I might have been 10% more interested to watch it.
But
I'm like,
okay. You think I would bet everything I own that if we could go somehow scan the world, no one has ever asked that request. No one's ever said, like, I wish there was a Michael Morbius movie. That has never had, those words have never come out of any human being's mouth.
Yo, you know what's interesting? I'm sure, it wasn't going to be an all Morbius movie, but at the end of, y'all might know better than me, it was Blade. I don't remember if it was Blade 1 or one of the, the sequels, but at the end of one of the Blade movies, like there was an alternate ending that was cut or whatever. It was going to be Blade, like basically standing on the rooftop after everything had happened. And then you see Morbius there and he's like standing on the next rooftop and he says something and then like flies away or goes or whatever. So like it would have been Blade and Morbius. And this would have been,
that was the end of Blade 3.
Blade 3. Okay. Yeah. And I'm like, especially during that time, that probably would have been dope, but they didn't go with it.
Well, can we just, before we sign off, like shout out to Blade. Let's be honest, without Blade and then the Raimi Spider-Man movies and even the X-Men movies, but I'm going to say like Spider-Man and the Blade movies, Blade started it, but Spider-Man like elevated that. They were like, this is what a comic book movie can be. Spider-Man 2, like even like, yo, your movie can be a dramatic, character-driven movie, and then at the end you just put a comic book fight in it, and I think it just elevated. Of course it'd be no for you, but it just elevated what we would expect from comic book characters. Y'all, before this, what were we getting for comic book movies? We were getting Steel, the Phantom, like
there was like, you know, the first Superman and the Tim Burton Batman. And then once Tim Burton left, we just got bad.
It was
like
awful.
just like not good up until Blade. Like it was a good amount of years of just bad. Like I'll think a little bit more about it, but I'm pretty sure I can't name one good superhero movie that came after Tim Burton until Blade. I don't know if I can name one. I'll try, but I don't think. Go ahead.
Blank Man.
Blank Man. Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Touche.
And it was a comedy. It was a comedy. And it's light years better than any of those movies.
I'll say I enjoyed Meteor Man. Like I remember Meteor Man. I enjoyed
Meteor Man. There you go.
Yeah.
What are the Golden Boys? Like
the Golden Lords.
The Golden. You know, big name superhero. I don't think I can name one that was good during that time.
Nope.
Internet, tell me if I'm wrong. Like, feel free. But I don't think I can name one. All right, and that concludes our Spider-Man the Animated Series episode. Thank you everyone for listening. You can hear a new episode every month. Please find us on all social media at PopCultParent, POPCULT. PARENT. You can visit us at www.popcultparent.com. Email us at popcultparent@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate us, review, and subscribe. And as always, join the cult. Peace.
Yeah.
Peace.